Hey guys, just wanted to record this quick video kind of running through a quiz. Um, so here are the quiz questions for digital media or digital art. The first question is, what different types of shapes can you make? So, you can create a variety of shapes. Here's the pretty much, these are your options right here. The rectangle tool, the rounded rectangle tool, the ellipse, the polygon, the star. So those are really your bread and butter kind of shape making tools. So we'll start with the rectangle tool. Okay. So up here, I'm going to load my color palette with magenta as the fill, and I'm going to keep black as the stroke. And so if I just simply drag with the shape tool selected, or rather the rectangle tool, I can get, I mean, it's not quite a square, it's a rectangle. It's not perfect. But I guess we could drag another one and make a real true rectangle. And simple as that, just kind of drag and make a shape. One thing that's kind of fun is sometimes if you have the shape tool selected and you want it to be a particular dimension, you can actually just click with your cursor. And then you can say, okay, I want that to be 2 inches wide and 3 inches high, and then just hit OK. So that's another way to kind of get some specific dimensions. All right. I'm going to go ahead and select those guys with the black arrow tool, and then I'm going to hit delete on my keyboard and remove them. So the other thing that you can do is you can make a perfect square, and you do that by with your left pinky holding shift, just simply drag. And we can double check the dimensions by selecting the object. And then up here, I know it's actually a funny size, but it's 1.4957 inches by 1.4957 inches. And so we can create these perfect squares, and all you have to do is hold shift. If I want to delete it, all I do is select it and then hit delete. Okay, so what about making a rectangle with some rounded corners? Okay, same thing. Just drag, select. Just for fun, let's go ahead and work with a different color. Let's make this kind of like a sea green, seafoam green kind of color. So yeah, you can see that that particular tool allows you to create these sort of rounded corner squares or rectangles. Okay. Again, if I hold shift, I can make a perfect square. All right. Okay. Let's just kind of keep going down through a few of these options. This is really powerful too, the ellipse tool. I find myself using the rectangle and the ellipse tool for the most part. So I can make sort of a rounded ellipse like so. Let's change the color just for fun into like, this nice kind of mandarin orange color. And now I'm going to create a perfectly, just rounded circle as well by holding shift. Right. Go ahead and delete those. You can also explore some of these other options. You can create polygons and stars as well. I'll be really honest, I kind of rarely use these tools, but if just, for the sake of this exercise, I'm going to go ahead and select this kind of pea green color, and I'm going to make a polygon. The other thing that I just want to, while we're here, I just want to remind you guys that you can not only move these shapes or objects with your black arrow tool, but you can actually rotate them. So if you put your cursor near one of the corners, you can kind of just manually move these things around. Okay. All right. Let's move to the next question. So, ah, can corners be rounded on a rectangle or square shape? If so, tell me how. Well, the answer is yes. And so we're going to have to go back to the rectangle tool. I'm going to select sort of a light brown for this particular exercise. I'm going to make a basic rectangle. And once you've made that rectangle, you can come over here and select the black arrow tool or hit V on your keyboard. And you'll notice there are these fun little kind of dots here in the corners of your shape, and you can grab those and you can pull them in. And so that's how you can make these rounded corners, okay, on these objects. And you can do that with a variety of shapes. So for example, if I were to make a polygon, well, you're going to see that I can do the same thing. I can kind of grab that sort of dot and I can manipulate things, right? So the answer is yes. Okay. Next question. How can you copy a shape or object? This is kind of a fun one. So we're going to go back. We're going to make, I'm going to make a perfect circle. Okay. And I'm going to keep that light brown for the sake of this exercise. But let's say I want to have two circles. All I have to do is on my keyboard hit Command C for copy and then Command V for paste. So I can have an exact duplicate of an object that is the same color, the same size, everything. So yes, you can copy and paste objects really fluidly. How can you choose or edit the color of a shape? Okay, this is a fun one. Okay, so all you have to do is, because Illustrator is object-based, all I have to do is select the object and then come up here to, I guess I call this my palette, because these are the colors for my fill and my stroke. And so I can hit the drop down and I can find all of these different sort of options. Just kind of keep in mind, if you do not have an object selected and you come up here and you try to make a change, you're not going to see it reflected in the object. That being said, you can load a different color and then you can create another object, with that new color. But if you want to change the color of an existing object, you have to select it and then you have to come up here and change the fill. And then furthermore, you can change the stroke. So I've got an orange. It's a little difficult to see. I've got an orange fill here, and I've got a magenta stroke. Just so that you guys can see the magenta stroke, I'm going to bump it up from 1 point to 5. I'm sure you guys can see. It's still, because of the contrast, and the color theory. So maybe we'll change that fill really quickly to something. Yeah, now we can see what's going on a little bit more clearly. So yes, you can change colors, whether it's the fill or the stroke, relatively easily. Okay, I'm going to delete all of those. Okay, we were just talking about fills and strokes, but I'll go ahead and answer this question again. What is a fill? Similarly, what is a stroke? Well, every object in Illustrator, for the most part, it's not an absolute statement, but for the most part, majority of the objects that you're creating in Adobe Illustrator will have both a fill and a stroke associated with it. And so if I create a circle, currently the fill is this sort of darker blue and the stroke is this beautiful magenta. I love magenta, guys. So I can select this and I can change the stroke, sort of like what we were just talking about, to maybe a yellow. Okay. Additionally, I can select this object and I can change the fill to, let's say, green. Okay. So if I, by the way, what I'm doing here, anytime I want to deselect an object, I just click away. Okay. All right. So yes, you can change colors, and of course, the fill is always, whatever's happening on the interior of an object, and the stroke is essentially what outlines the object. I think this is also worth mentioning is you don't always have to have a stroke or a fill visible. So if I select this object, I can actually make the fill go away. So now it's just the outline of an object. And this red line up here indicates that it's alpha channel or transparent. Similarly, I can make the stroke go away. The object is still there. It's just invisible because I have taken away the fill and the stroke color parameters. There's no color for the fill and there's no color for the stroke currently selected, but the object is still there. I know that because when I drag and let go, I can see the outline, I can see the path. Hit delete. Okay, next question. How can anchor points be used to transform or shape an object? Okay, this is a fun one. Let's go back to our rectangle tool. Let's make an object and let's give it some color so that we can see it. I'm going to make it sort of like this off yellow kind of greenish color for the fill. And I'm going to give the stroke this purple, right? And I'm going to make the stroke just a little bit bigger so that we can see it on the screen. Okay, when I select this object with the black arrow tool, I see these handles, and you can grab those handles and you can change the shape of an object that way. I can also grab it from the corner, kind of modify an object in that manner. Additionally, if I have the black arrow tool selected, I can switch gears midway and I can hit A for the direct selection or white arrow tool. When that happens, those handles go away and then I see the anchor points. I can double click these anchor points and I can move them around and start doing some, I guess one might say, more interesting things. I can also add an anchor point, okay? So what I just did there is I actually switched gears to the pen tool. And by the way, the shortcut is P, but if you hold down on the pen tool, you'll see add anchor point, delete anchor point, and then the anchor point tool. This is a little bit more advanced, but I mean, it's how you can change the shape of an object. And that, of course, is why I'm showing you. And if I want to add an anchor point, I have to put the cursor over the path of the object, click, anchor point is added. Then I have to switch gears. I can hit A on my keyboard to select the white arrow tool. Now I can grab that anchor point and I can move it around. Furthermore, I can go back and I can select the delete anchor point tool, and then I can actually delete. I'm going to delete this anchor right here. Just get rid of it. So yes, you can change the shapes of or the form of these objects relatively easily, and you can do it in a variety of ways. The black arrow tool, the white arrow tool, and the pen tool are really good places to start when you're doing that, okay? Okay, next question. Can you add text to a project? If so, what tool might you use? Okay. Um, and so I used to add a lot of text using the text tool in Illustrator, but then I discovered how handy InDesign was. And you know, all of these Adobe products are sort of built so that there's a little bit of overlap, but the real truth is you know, some applications just solve problems a little bit better. And so I actually use InDesign or a different process to kind of, you know, do layout and add text now. That being said, of course, you can add text to an Adobe Illustrator project. You can hit T or the text tool, which is living right here, okay? The type tool, actually, not the text tool. And what you have to do first is you have to drag, okay, to create a box or a text box. And once you have done that, you will see the lorem ipsum, which is just simply placeholder text. It doesn't mean anything. And it's already highlighted, so you can just start typing and you can change that text really easily. Let's say you want to change the size of that text. Well, let's say you are no longer in that text box. You actually have to drag and select, or just simply directly select that object because now it's an object. But then you have to double click into it again, and you have to select the text, okay? Because the real truth is you can select partial text in Adobe Illustrator and make it a different color, which is kind of fun. So BOLLIN is black, and then GER I made red, just to kind of show you guys that. I can also change the font, and I would do that. Okay, again, you know, also notice how the options here at the top of the screen change. So I select the text box, then I double click in, and then I drag and select the text. And now I can actually change the font, which is currently Myriad Pro. I can change that to Helvetica right here. Okay, Helvetica is kind of one of my go-tos. So yeah, you can add text to a project, no problem. You can also change the color, you can change the size, you can modify things, just like, in any Word, I guess, word processing application, like, Microsoft Word, God forbid. Okay, next question. Oh, no. How can you how can you copy or duplicate a shape? Oh, that's actually a question. I kind of feel like that's a trick question because how can you copy a shape or object? That's pretty much the same question. How can you copy or duplicate a shape? Okay, I think I know. Wonder. I'll just answer this question again. Command C, Command V. Okay. So yeah, copy, paste, which is really, your best friend no matter what application you're using, right? We all know that. Okay, question number 9, describe what the align function does. Okay, well, actually, this is a good opportunity because let's say we have, I'm gonna actually, just for fun to show you, I can drag and select 2 objects, copy and then paste. All right. And the align tool can be found if I come up here to window and then click on align. The align palette will be engaged. And the align palette has some different functions. You can come down here and say align to artboard. And of course, the artboard is the canvas, the white area. You can, once maybe you have some additional things selected, you can align to selection, and you can align to key object. All right. So I'm going to select all of these with the black arrow tool. And instead of aligning to the artboard, I'm going to go through this just to kind of show you. Like, let's say I want all of these guys to be aligned to the left side of the artboard. Well, I just kind of click this icon right here. It's pretty intuitive. It kind of shows you. But the real truth is after you start using this tool, it makes a lot more sense. But if I click this button where it's, and it even says horizontal align left, just click it. All of those objects are going to go run flush left. Now I'm going to Command Z or undo that so I can continue to show you guys how this is working. But let's say I want all of these squares to just be in a perfect line. So I would say align to selection, and I can do a horizontal align center, okay? Or Command Z it. I could do a vertical align center, all right? Let's say I want to align things to a key object. So I click this button and notice how one of them becomes highlighted. You can change which one you want all of these objects to sort of talk to or be the master, if that makes sense. So let's say I want all of these guys to be in alignment with this square. All I have to do is click it to change everyone's allegiance. And so that one is now highlighted. And now I can say vertical align center, and notice how all those other 3 guys are going to align with the one that is highlighted. Just like so. So the align tool is a very, very powerful thing in Adobe Illustrator. Something, honestly, that you'll probably be using quite a bit. Okay, last one. Can an object or stroke be changed or edited? If so, tell me how. Okay, we talked about this a little bit because let's see, we were talking about changing. Can you change or edit the color of a shape? How can anchor points be used to transform a shape or object? So in a way, I kind of feel like that last question is a continuation of this one because basically you change an object with the anchor points, right? And so if I drag this square down here, I'm going to change the fill just to make it unique. I currently have the black arrow tool selected, but I can switch gears to the white arrow tool. That'll make these anchor points appear. And then if I double click into an anchor point, I can start moving those things around, right? All right. So yes, shapes can be modified and changed or edited. And remember, you can also come over here to the pen tool and you can add an anchor point, and it has to be on a path. I add two. I'm going to hit A on my keyboard, select the white arrow tool, double click in and move that out. Okay, so you can modify and change these objects with the anchor point tool. The other way, I think it's useful to remind you, with the black arrow tool also, when you select an object, you can modify the shape by dragging these handles. Okay. Okay. Thanks, guys. That's quiz 0.